So with your permission, I'll go ahead and take my mask off while I'm up here. Stand away from you all so that you can hear me better. Have my mask on now. Let's see. Okay, well, we are going to, just make sure I can make this work. Okay. So, as you may know, I was at the Walt Disney Company for a long time as an entertainer and an actor, and that's where I learned a lot about engaging with an audience because I did so several times a day, for several hundred people a day. And on occasion, I would spend a Friday evening in the castle, at the castle restaurant, portraying the fairy godmother. And that would be Friday evening. And then the next afternoon, Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock, I would be at Epcot in the Italian Pavilion doing a comedy show. Okay, so now this is the same brand, right? Same brand story. You create happiness, magical moments, same person, two very different audiences, right? Two vastly different audiences with vastly different expectations. In fact, one Friday night I had been in the castle, and I came out pretty much like that, and started my show, and a little girl cried out, "I love you, fairy godmother!" So happy to see you. I was so happy to see her. And people would have that reaction. That audience had made a reservation, right? They had planned this. There was possibly a special event around that evening, and they were literally in the most magical place, on earth, right? Cinderella's castle. At Epcot, at 1 o'clock in the Italian Pavilion, how many people have been to Epcot? Where's Italy in the circle? Half, right about half, right? What do most people do on Saturdays at Epcot? Drink around the world. So we're halfway in to our drinking by the time we get to Italy, right? Very different audience, very different expectation. In fact, one of the times that I came out on a Saturday afternoon, I came out looking much like that and said, "Showtime!" And this man said, "Blank you, I just want to sit here." Okay, so now he was being accosted by entertainment, whereas this little girl was absolutely expecting this magical experience, right? So I share that with you to frame that we are constantly telling our stories, especially as nonprofits, but we have a variety of different audiences that we have to speak to. And some of them can sometimes be resistant, some of them can sometimes have a different expectation than you know that they're going to have. And it depends a lot on the context, but you have the same brand and you have the same message. And so we're going to talk about audience and connection through story. That's going to be our focus in this afternoon. So our expectations, we're going to talk about the story principles and how to connect with each audience. We're going to understand the differences and how to approach each audience. And I actually added a tool. You're going to come away with 4 whole tools, not just 3, for the foundation of a great story. And you're going to have a format that you can use for any story, whether it's a tweet or a TED Talk. Okay? All right. So let's start with the power of story. Story is a powerful tool, and we all know that, but maybe we don't know why. And I'm going to read you an exact quote here. Story is, first of all, it's how we process information for survival. Now that sounds fairly extreme, right? That sounds a little bit extraordinary. But there's a guy named Science Mike, and he has a podcast called Ask Science Mike. And he uses science to understand how consumers relate to products. And that was something that he did for many years. He's a very interesting guy. Ask Science Mike. So he says our brains are designed to survive and thrive. That's not a real huge revelation. That makes a lot of sense, right? So our brains are designed to survive and thrive. So in an effort to conserve calories for survival, our brains sort through useless information. Look at that. One part of my body is actually trying to conserve calories for my survival. So your brain is sorting through useless information. Here's the kicker. Story organizes that information. Story organizes information in a way that our brains flag it as important for our survival. So it doesn't dump that information, whereas data or a pie chart would be. So story identifies a problem. It provides a plan to help us conquer a challenge. And it tells our brains this is important for your survival, this is important for your ability to thrive. Okay? So, it also, story connects us through universal themes. So we feel connected when we hear a really great story from someone. And we're in a story culture right now, right? And TikTok and Instagram and all of the things that you now is suddenly on your plate to do, right? Before it was just writing a donor newsletter and an annual report maybe and a couple letters, but now you got to tweet something every day. So we feel like, oh, this is really new. And it really isn't. Story has always been the currency of every generation, from the fire circle to TikTok. So, what I want to talk about is that surviving and thriving. Your organization has a survival story and a thriving story. So in your worksheets here, you've actually got some questions there. So it is really important for you to be able to share your story from where you're at, right? Are you providing, you all know this pyramid, Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Yeah, so this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so it goes up the grade here. Now, for many of us, many nonprofits, you're going to be in that lower tier there, that foundational tier of physiological needs, safety needs, providing those for people. Then as we go up, there's love and belonging, esteem, self-actualization. So maybe we start physiological needs over here with Lighthouse, right? We're providing jobs. And then we're going over to Terrence here in the arts in love and belonging, maybe even up to self-actualization. So it's important that you know where your story is. What kind of survival story are you telling? Are you helping people to thrive? Are you helping people to survive? So when you think about those different audiences, this on your worksheet there, I've got a couple of different questions here. The way to find your story is understand where your organization is. What is the need that you serve? Right? So is your organization serving survive or thrive needs? Think through that. And then I left this for you to fill out, for yourselves later. But think through that. How are we meeting people's needs? Then next look at the people you serve. Are they in need of surviving or thriving? And I would imagine that as you look at the stories that you want to tell, you're going to find a variety even within that, right? There are people who rely on Central Florida Community Arts or Orlando Ballet for surviving. It really helps them, right? It helps move them forward in their lives. And they might consider that survival. There are others they know it's thriving. There are volunteers that you have at your organization that are there because it helps them thrive, to help someone else survive, right? So as you're looking to find what story can I tell, That's what you're looking for. You're looking for who in my organization, where are they at, and how are we serving that need? The donors you appeal to, how do you help them survive and thrive, right? We often think that the donors are there for us, right? We have to make an ask. I would encourage you to think of your ask as an offer. That's language that we use in improvisational storytelling, that we make an offer in our story. Because that donor has a need, right? That donor has a need. They want to participate in your organization for some reason. So if you can think on that, what is the reason that they want to participate? Does it help them to thrive? Does it help survive? Is there a survival story in there? And then and I'll get back to that, I'll give you an example, because that sounds pretty far-fetched sometimes when we think about some of our really big donors, like how would this help them survive? But hold on to that. So how does your organization help the community? Does your organization help the community survive? Does it help the community thrive? Think on those, and you will find a variety of stories within those two thoughts, and within Maslow's hierarchy. You will be able, as you look at that, you will be able to find a variety of stories from your organization that meet those variety of needs, and that you can change your story to meet that particular audience. Does that make sense? It's really meeting that audience, because if you tell a donor a story that doesn't meet their needs, they're not going to give, right? If you are telling a community a story that doesn't meet their needs, they don't see the value of your organization. So just like I have one story in the Magic Kingdom on a Friday night, and I have a different story in Italy at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, but it's the same brand, the same person, and the same intention. My intention is we create happiness. We create happiness. That is the motto of every Disney employee. That's your job at Disney World. Your task might be to clean a bathroom or to be the fairy godmother, be at guest services, checking somebody's ticket. But your intention, your job is we create happiness, no matter what your tasks are. And that's something that all of us are trained in at Disney World, some of us more than others. But I'm one of those. So that's one of the ways you're going to find your story. And so the example that I want to use is someone that most of us know well, is Harriet Lake, right? We all know Harriet Lake, who Harriet Lake was. So thinking about Harriet Lake, she was deeply passionate about the arts, right? You can find many rooms, many theaters, many buildings in this town named for Harriet Lake. So that would, in our minds, be about thriving, right? She gave that money to help that organization thrive, make it better. Would we agree on that? Is there also a case for a survival story there? Tell me about that, Ashley.
Well, I don't think it's really a secret that she was a huge donor to the LA for a long time and pivotal to the organization's survival.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about this beautiful new building. If you haven't been to the beautiful new building of the Orlando Ballet, you must go. You must go. Unfortunately, will be on sale soon. I highly recommend it. But you must see this building, Harriet Lake's Orlando Ballet Center. Am I getting that right? So I would put to you that Harriet saw a survival need, not just for the ballet, but possibly for our city. When you compare our city to others, how are we doing? What is going to make us stand out? What's going to take us to the next level? An organization like Orlando Ballet will do that, but not if they're, meeting in the basement of some church and then over there at office park, and then over here in a dilapidated warehouse, right? So when you can meet a donor where they're at, what they're thinking, and help them take it to the next level in your storytelling. If you can talk about, this doesn't just help Orlando Ballet survive, this helps the city survive in competition. It helps us take it to the next level in our thriving. Then you're speaking to a deeper need. Does that make sense? Well, I'm actually going to show you a great story, and those of you that have been with me for Victory Cup, you've seen this example before, but it's worth us sharing again. This is a story that Oprah Winfrey told at the Golden Globes in 2018, I believe. And it's a 9-minute speech, but we're not going to listen to it for 9 minutes. We're going to listen to about 2 minutes and 32 seconds of it. Could you grab those slides over there? So after Oprah gave this speech, the internet went